Peace, peace, peace. Aboroboye. Abushishe. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. Saraba. To everyone out there. Today's video is going to answer some questions that people keep hitting me up with on WhatsApp. And that's pertaining to spiritual bindings. Okay. A lot of people keep asking me, is a spiritual binding a love spell? And a spiritual binding can be a love spell. It can work within the confines of love, but a spiritual binding is basically one, you can bind a person to an entity. That's a type of spiritual binding. Two, you can bind two people together. And when binding two people together, typically you would do that in the spirit of love. You know what I mean? You could bind two people together to hate each other forever or whatever, you know? But you would typically bind two people together in the spirit of love. So to answer questions pertaining to spiritual bindings, a spiritual binding works like this. Well, I'm pretty sure people have different ways of doing spiritual binding. So I'm not saying that this way is the absolute way. I'm just saying that this is a very strong way. I'm not going to go into the details or the secrets of how to perform such ritual, but I will give you a few key points, a few things that are needed in this process. Usually it can be done with maybe like two dolls representing the person, some elements that represent love. I know I like to use hummingbirds in mine. I have a source where I get hummingbirds from that I like to use when doing the spiritual bindings, because a hummingbird, you know, has a very strong ashe when it comes to the love energy. And so when you kind of tie these two people together with a hummingbird and a couple of other, you know, a bunch of other ingredients, and you perform the ritual where you actually attach the spirit of the dead to that particular fetish that you create, for all intents and purposes, once it's buried, it's signed, sealed, and delivered. I mean, it's very hard to break, especially once it's buried. It's very hard to break. Once it's fed and then it's buried, it's really hard to break. But what this does is, the spiritual binding doesn't necessarily make you like the person. Doesn't make you necessarily want to be in love with the person, unless that's specified when actually doing the ritual. So when you do the ritual, you want to be like, oh, you know, bind these two people together in love, make them be obsessed with each other in a good way, make them to be compassionate with each other, make them to be considerate, respectable, faithful, loyal to each other, make them want to be in each other's lives for all time, for the rest of their lives. This is how you would particularly word, you know, such type of work. Now, the reason why an individual would want to be spiritually binded to each other, because it's technically a spiritual marriage, if you will. And I typically advise people who are married or who are in long lasting relationships, I would suggest or recommend a spiritual binding to protect it, especially when you got third parties and other people, family members who could be interfering with the relationship, people that could be trying to break y'all up, people that could be doing witchcraft against you all and stuff, you know, stuff like that. I would recommend a spiritual binding because, to be honest with you, no witchcraft will be able to break you all up if you're spiritually binded. Okay. And we got a lot of that going on in the community today. We got a lot of that going on in the world, but people are doing witchcraft on each other to break each other up, to break different people up. Oh, I want this man, he's with her, I want to get the baby mama out the way, you know, and this and that. You know what I mean? And so, or the baby mama's throwing witchcraft, at us and our new relationship because she wants him back, blah, blah, blah. You go and spiritually bind yourself to this person, especially if you know that the person want to be with you. If you know that this guy want to be with you or this woman want to be with you, but there's some third party interference going on, people throwing witchcraft, evil eye, negative shit, you know, then you call me and, you know, we put together a spiritual binding for you and him so that nothing can break y'all up. That's the purpose of the spiritual binding. It's so nothing can break you up. It's not like you're putting a spiritual binding on this person because you want to trap them. In most cases, if both the man and the woman are both cognizant and both aware of the type of stuff that goes on in the spiritual realms, then they may both agree to get the spiritual binding done. They may both say, okay, let's go ahead and do this if this is going to protect our relationship spiritually so that nobody can break us up. Now, if a dude say he don't want to be spiritually binded to you, that might be a red flag for you to kind of question his intentions for the relationship. Do he intend to be with you for the rest of his life type shit? Now, if he talking marriage, or we're going to get married, we're going to start a family, let's get a house together, let's do this together, spiritual binding is definitely in effect. Does he have to know that you're doing a spiritual binding? Not necessarily. If he knows, it's better. But if he doesn't know, not to say that it'll work better, it'll just be better for both of y'all to be in the know that we're protected. Our relationship is protected. You know what I mean? But if he doesn't, if you want to protect the relationship or he wants to protect the relationship without letting the other person know, it's definitely doable. He may or she may try to wonder like, well, why can't I get rid of this person? I want to break up with this person. Why can't I get this person out of my life? Why this person won't leave? Even though you all may even break up intimately, you may break up and still can't get out of each other's lives because you're spiritually binded. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, spiritual binding does not make a perfect relationship. Relationships take work. Relationships take a lot of things, and to be healthy, it's not, you just can't put a spell on something or put a spirit on something and think that you don't have to do any work. It's not how none of this stuff works. You know, I get a lot of people that come to me all the time. I do work for them. I attach spirits to their situation, to them, to their significant other or whatever. Then these people go out and they get in a big argument with the person. And I'm just like, why would you go against the nature of the spirit that I just put out there? You know what I mean? I get it. It's hard. Sometimes we forget. We get caught up in our emotions. You know, our mind gets away with us. And, you know, we react and respond to things, you know, that sometimes can cause us to have to backtrack and, you know, send that spirit out again or, you know, give extra offerings or whatever we got to do. I get it. Sometimes people make mistakes, but for the most part, when you're doing these spiritual bindings, it's not going to make the relationship perfect. You know what I mean? You're going to have issues in life. Life is going to life. You know what I mean? Everything is not going to, people be thinking that because they put a spell on a person or because they did work on a person, everything is going to be perfect. It just doesn't, that's just not the way life works. And I'm sorry to bust you guys' bubble, but this ain't Hollywood. None of this stuff, this ain't no Hollywood Wiccan, witchy stuff that you see in the movies and shit. Like, this is not, that's just not how these ATRs work, you know what I mean, when it comes to spirit. Now, ATRs are definitely very powerful for doing spiritual work, but it doesn't work like Hollywood. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? It takes work. It takes faith. It takes patience. You know what I mean? Faith and patience in any spiritual work is a requirement. It is a requirement. You know what I mean? And so in the spirit of doing spiritual binding, sometimes you won't even notice that the binding has set for a long time. You won't notice. It could be months, a year. And then something may happen in the relationship, and then you'll be like, I think that binding is working. You know what I mean? So what I want y'all to do, because we're going to kind of keep this video particularly short, but what I want y'all to do is to understand that these things, these spiritual works that we do call spiritual bindings, are very strong. They're very powerful. They do not necessarily change the person unless you petition the spirit for that type of thing. If you say, look, I want to be spiritually binded to this person in love, which will lead to marriage, which will, you know, I want this person to be like this with me, and I want this person to be like that with me, and I want this and I want that. You have to be very specific in what it is that you're asking for. If you just ask for a spiritual binding, plain, regular, general spiritual binding, you're just going to be binded, but everything is not going to be perfect. Okay? So I hope that this video was valuable to you guys. Please ask reasonable and sensible questions in the comments. I will answer. If you do that, you can click the link in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe to this video first and foremost. Then click the link in the description if you want to book a consultation and talk to me about spiritual bindings and maybe considering to get one for you and your significant other. I hope to see y'all on the next video, and y'all be good.